Hello and welcome to the President's Podcast, right here on the record with the Ohio Senate. The views the news excludes. I'm John Fortney, the Director of Communication with the Senate Republican Caucus, the Majority Caucus in the Ohio Senate. Great to have on the program Senator George Lang, Republican from Westchester and Majority Whip of the Ohio Senate. How you doing?
John, I'm doing great. Good to have you down here slumming it in Butler County today in southwest Ohio. I call this God's country.
Well, you know what? I'm from Washington County, so that, a lot of people think that's God's country as well. You can take the boy out of the country, but not the country out of the boy.
That's right.
I think is what the old saying is. But I have to give Butler County some credit because Butler County took proactive action, was very proactive rather, and returned a little money back to the taxpayers when it came to property taxes. And this was one of the big issues about county budget commissions.
Yeah.
That the General Assembly, specifically the Senate, said, you know what, we need to make sure that county budget commissions have the ability to roll back the millage if we think we've got enough money.
Yeah, and Butler County was the first county to take advantage of that amendment that we put into the budget most recently. And John, Butler County is a good example of how a county should be run. We're the only county in the state. We have no debt. We are building a new building now for our coroner who needs a new building. We're paying cash. No debt. We have a lower overall property tax than any other county. We have a lower overall income tax. Our largest community, Westchester, has no income tax whatsoever. And Westchester has about 65,000 residents and about 4,000 businesses that employ 70,000 people. We have more employees for businesses than we do citizens. No income tax, and we haven't had a tax increase in Westchester since the 1990s. No other community can say that. Now, the school did, but we have had no tax increase to our general fund in Westchester, and it's because the county is run by commissioners that are business guys, and they understand fiscal restraint. They understand the burden that increasing cost of government puts on businesses. And we have become the most attractive county in the state for a business to join, unless, of course, you're getting some of those big incentives.
Well, it's pretty impressive when you have a city that has 65,000 people. Just about every city that I can think of that has a population like that, or even much smaller, has some type of income tax. So a lot of people are looking for a township to live in, right?
Yeah, and I do have to correct you. Westchester's not a city. We are a township.
Oh, you are a township.
We are a township. If we were a city, we would be, I believe, the sixth largest city in Ohio. We're larger than like 46 counties in Ohio, and we are a township. And that's our secret sauce, a township. We have simpler regulations. A business can come to Westchester and make more money than going to any other community in the state of Ohio. And that is what I've been working on since I've been in Ohio. Westchester is the most business-friendly community in the state. I want to make Ohio the most business-friendly state in the country.
Definitely getting there with the operating budget and the flat tax that takes effect in the next fiscal year on July 1st of 2026, 2.75%. You even had a bill that would have done the very same thing.
That's right.
But as far as statewide tax burden, income tax, Ohio's come a long way in reducing the tax burden there.
Yeah, when I first got to the State House, Ohio was the 46th worst state in the nation from a taxation perspective. Now we're one of the top 20 as we have reduced the income tax, and we've eliminated the cat tax on every small business in Ohio no longer pays the cat tax, which is a very unfair tax. If you have 20 million in sales and you lose 6 million, you pay your cat tax on your 20 million, not on the 6 million
commercial activities tax.
Yeah, the commercial activity tax, or I shouldn't say cat tax. Ray Durassi will correct me.
Our finance directors, no, it's just called the cat.
Yeah, because the cat tax technically is redundant, and he's right. So we are moving Westchester Ohio in the right direction. And you see, as we have lowered taxes, if we have lowered regulations, businesses are coming back to Ohio at a pace we haven't seen since the 1970s. And what gets all the press are the big guys: Amazon, Honda, Ford, Google, Intel, Joby building flying cars, all that stuff we saw in Jetsons as kids is coming true. We got Intel building the biggest chips factory in the galaxy right here in Ohio. But what I'm more proud of are the startups. 2.1 million startups in Ohio in the last 5 years, more than the previous 20 years combined, and we're not slowing down. This year, we're on track for about 400,000 new startups in Ohio. Last year, 14% of all business startups in America started in Ohio because you can start a business in Ohio. It's simple. Filing with Secretary of State is easy. You pay no income tax till you hit $250,000, not of revenue, but of personal income, and no cat tax till you get to $6 million. So we're now the number one state in America to start a business. We're not yet the number one state in America to keep a business and to grow your business. And I'm hopeful that before I leave the Senate in 4 years that we become that state. And we are moving there quicker than any other state in America right now, except Arizona. There's 7 or 8 states that are already there. Those are the states that are financially dominating. That's the group of states I want to see Ohio join.
One of the things that the legislature has really tried to address is property tax reform. Also facing the potential for, although the organizers of the Abolish Property Tax campaign in Ohio said that they did not have any professional signature gatherers to get the petition drive to qualify for the ballot. But if it would make the ballot, it might sound good on the surface, but it would be really abolishing local control in many ways, would it not, if that passed? Because property taxes, by the way, every state in the country has some form of property taxes. And it does get down to this community. Westchester says, well, we want to pass a levy for transportation or for MRD or for whatever it is. The local community has a say in whether it's a good idea or a bad idea based on what the ballot outcome is. Would you say local control is also at stake or not?
Yeah, local control is definitely at stake. And one thing about property taxes, and there are 4 primary taxing schemes available to every state. I'm embarrassed to say Ohio is one of the few states that utilizes all 4. There's only like 4 or 5 in America. And property tax is a big one. You know, one of the big misnomers that people have regarding property tax is not one penny of that goes to the state. 100% of it stays local. And the thing I like about property tax is you vote on it. If you don't want to pass a tax, vote no. Get out, knock on doors, tell your neighbors to vote no. But the property tax is 100% local. It's voted on by the citizens. You know, and unfortunately for the citizens, COVID has really exacerbated the issue. COVID has artificially inflated housing values. The valuation increases are real. They are real, but they are artificially inflated because of what COVID done. Conversely, during COVID, it did just the opposite to business property because all of the offices where people were packing every day, people went home, they worked at home. So you saw business valuations not go up.
Empty buildings, right?
Yeah, they basically went up with inflation. But as the economy rebounds, and it is growing in Ohio. I mentioned earlier about the big guys and the little guys. In the last 3 states, Ohio has been the 23rd, the 9th, and the 14th most entered state. So as people come back, as businesses come back, as offices open back up, we're going to see valuations and property taxes for businesses going up significantly. So it didn't affect the business community near as bad as the citizens, but it's coming if we don't fix it and if we don't fix it quick.
Do you think the veto override of the replacement and the substitute emergency levies was a big step in the right direction since those raised money as the valuations happened? They weren't subject to the 20 mil floor. So basically it resulted in unvoted revenue to school districts.
Yep. So the answer to that question is no, I don't think it was a big step. I think it was a step. I think it was a right step. And it is a step in the right direction, but it was a small step. We still have more to do. And there's 20 different ideas, maybe 50 different ideas how to approach this. The problem we're having is agreeing on which one, two, or three ideas is the best path forward. For me, the principle should be I don't want to punish any municipality that is enjoying revenue from property taxes today, but I do want to limit any unvoted increases in the future. I want to make sure that that is clear. I don't want to punish municipalities today, but in the future, not one extra penny unless your citizens say, yes, please raise my taxes. I vote to support that. The other big problem we have in Ohio, and property tax issue is a big deal, and the reason why, we have more individual taxing districts than any other state in America. Think about that,
like
John.
political subdivisions, cities, villages, whatever.
We're worse in California, worse in New York, worse in Illinois, worse in New Jersey. And so as we look at ways to mitigate the impact on taxes, I think we also need to look at ways as how do we eliminate governments. For example, we have over 600 school districts. Florida has one per county. So we have all of that redundancy in administration and in overhead. And I think we as a state really need to look at not necessarily what we can consolidate, but what we can eliminate, along with consolidation.
Reducing the size of bureaucracy does provide an economy of scale and a gigantic savings.
It does. And especially if you look at school districts, and if you compare them to just 30 years ago, in general, there's always exceptions, but the class to student ratio hasn't shrunk, but the administration has exploded. So we're not putting our money into teachers. We're not putting our money into educating kids, but we're growing administration.
If something like that would pass as a constitutional amendment, and again, a lot of people would say, well, I'd be for that. It sounds good, but it would blow about a $22 billion hole in local budgets.
Yes.
And then you see the rhetoric on the other side, the people that, even some county officials I've seen out there, that think it's a good idea, then they point the finger at the General Assembly to, solve this problem. Well, when the overall sales tax, income tax, and a few miscellaneous taxes in the state of Ohio raises about $30 billion, I think, a year. So if you're talking about a $20 to $22 billion hole, that's local money.
Yeah.
And that would force, I think, a lot of heartache at the local level. Again, it comes down to local control.
Yep.
Because then if the state is going to say, well, school systems, here's what you're going to get. And okay, if you have a local transportation program, here's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
There won't be any ability for local residents and taxpayers to say, well, we could really use a new whatever it is.
Yep.
Well, sorry, you can't run a levy now.
Yep. You'll see a lot of local communities trying to implement an income tax. They will try to implement a cat tax. They will try to do all of these options that they have available to replace that revenue. You'll see the state trying to solve the problem. The misnomer that a lot of people have that are going to vote for this levy to eliminate the income tax is it doesn't eliminate spending. John, for the most part, at the government level, including the state level, we don't have a funding problem. We have a spending problem. And this $20 to $22 billion hole you're speaking of, it's not going away. It's just going to be replaced with another form of taxation that may be worse on some citizens. Some people will definitely be worse. Some people are going to most likely be better off.
Well, people, I think, would be pretty angry if you were talking about raising state income taxes by 10% or having an 18 or 20% sales tax.
That's right.
I mean, you would still have to make cuts to government.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to have to provide some of that revenue back, it would take some type of a tax increase. And I know many of our members would frown on tax increases in general since they've worked so hard, including you,
Yep.
to get down to a flat tax, with the idea at some point probably you would have zero income tax in the state of Ohio, right?
My goal in the next General Assembly is to eliminate the income tax altogether, coincident with eliminating the capital gains tax. Only one state in America has no capital gains. We will now not only be the number one state to start a business, we'll be the number one state to keep a business, and we'll be the number one state to invest your money in businesses. And that capital gains doesn't just apply to businesses. When you sell your home, you pay no capital gains tax in Ohio. You combine that with what the Trump administration is trying to do now to index your capital gains to inflation, and you watch the capital pouring into Ohio. We will financially dominate the rest of the country in 2 to 4 decades.
Speaking of tying rates to inflation, what do you think about the overall idea that's been bounced around out there about tying valuation and property taxes to be capped at no more than the rate of inflation?
I think that is a brilliant idea, and maybe you have an exception for high growth districts, but I think that is a great idea, and it'll limit school districts' ability to focus on things that are beyond their core competencies.
Right. We should be teaching kids and not doing tons of extra things.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
How long have you been in business?
You know, I started I went into business as soon as I graduated from college. I went to work for a little marketing company, actually headquartered in downtown Cincinnati, called Procter & Gamble. You ever heard of those guys, John?
A couple of those items that they sell.
Yeah, and then I was there for 8 years and started my first business while I was there, failed miserably. My second business failed miserably. And my third business was a solid double. And since then, I've launched maybe a dozen different businesses and have had a bunch of success. We grow them and either bring somebody in to run them or we sell them.
With that in mind, so much has changed, just driven by technology over the last several decades.
Yeah.
And we hear a lot about cryptocurrency and different types of currency and the gold standard, of course. You have a unique idea that is now in the form of a Senate bill. What is that?
Yeah, and it actually, I don't think it's quite been dropped yet, but we're going to. It is called, the concept is called pirate money. It derives its authority from Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution. You know, our forefathers warned us against fiat money. They warned us about the ability to inflate. So they built into the Constitution an article that literally says any state can create their own currency as long as it is 100% backed by gold and silver. So 5 states have already done this, and there's a tremendous amount of benefits. For example, my wife and I have been buying between $5,000 and $8,000 worth of gold every month for the last 5 years, gold and or silver. And there's a lot of people that can't afford to do that. And you can't buy a fractional share or a sliver or a gram of gold. Under this scenario, if you put $100 in, you get $100 worth of gold in the form of a debit card. Your money will be 100% backed by real gold and or real silver. It would be your choice to buy gold or silver, and you would have a debit card so you could spend it as you want. If you put $100 worth of gold in, and gold is up 50% in the last year, and you don't spend it, your account will be worth $150. If you do spend it, your account would be worth less, and if gold goes down 20%, you're going to be worth $80, not $100. So it allows everybody to participate in gold. You can buy fractional shares of gold. You can buy any percentage that you want. And some of the other key benefits are it is, for the most part, inflation proof. And right now, the only ways for the government to get money are to borrow, to tax, or to inflate. Those 3 things are the primary sources that government has. 2 things have happened to gold over the years that have helped shape our policy. In 1933, FDR confiscated all gold in America, not jewelry, but all bullion and all coins, confiscated it from all Americans. And then in 1971, President Nixon took us off the gold standard. I believe at the time both presidents had good reasons for doing that, but it has had a negative impact on our monetary policy, on our fiat money ever since. And I think one answer is gold. It allows everybody to participate.
So it would be a program for the state of Ohio, as sort of an investment utility for its citizens to participate in.
That is correct, and I actually see this being run by the Treasurer's Office. Before I drop my bill, I plan on sitting down with Robert Sprague. I had a brief conversation with him on this, but I see this being run by the Treasurer's Office. He would probably use outside companies to come in, as the other states that have done it. But the state can create their own depository. They don't have to. There are depositories out there that they can use. Texas has decided to create their own, to take all the gold that currently is in the depository in New York, and Texas companies are moving it to Texas. And eventually I'd like to see Ohio do that, but it'd be a significant upfront cost.
That's very interesting. But that's those innovative ideas,
Yep.
right? To keep up with the times. You brought up COVID.
Yeah.
And what it did to the real estate market. And I think there's been a lot of lessons learned over the past 5 years.
Yep.
And what it did to the economy, what it did to education, and just what we have learned now from the federal government that, no, it just didn't pop up. We know it was developed in a lab, right? And so that's a totally different show. But you have a message about COVID, and one of the points of that is all the people that were vilified for simply having a different opinion and wanting to explore different medicinal avenues for preventative measures or for treatment.
Yep. Yeah, COVID was devastating to everything you mentioned. But I believe it was the biggest case of child abuse we have ever perpetrated on our kids. And unfortunately, it hurt the kids that need the help the most, the worst. The inner city kids, where education may not be a priority for those parents. Those are the ones. And, they lost 2 years of their education. How do we get that back, John? I don't know. But it also had a horrible negative impact on business. By the way, not all states closed down like Ohio. And the rate of incidence of COVID death wasn't any higher. Matter of fact, there's evidence now that shows it was lower in those states that closed down. So they took away our ability to travel, our freedom, but they also took away our medical freedom. And I've recently had an epiphany that has helped me understand the importance of you being in charge of your own body and you being able to do whatever you think is best for you. During COVID, my wife and I both refused to get the vaccine. For me, I had one of my cancer docs tell me, you just had stage 4, you've had your radiation, stage 3, your colorectal, your radiation, your chemo, your surgery, your immune system is down. Don't you dare wear a mask. Don't you dare take that vaccine. You need to build your immune system up. For my wife, it was more of a perspective of she doesn't trust government. John, what the hell does that say about me?
I was going to say.
So anyway, I've had an amazing epiphany in my life. In October, God has blessed me with a recurrence of my colorectal cancer. So this is considered stage 4 colorectal cancer. And my wife and I have said, okay, there's a traditional path, the chemo, the radiation, the surgery. We have decided after doing some research, we don't want to go down that path. I did do some radiation that I regret, but as of right now, we are not doing the chemo. We are not doing the surgery. We are taking very much a holistic approach to this fight. And it started with, I bought this book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. And it talks about how you can change your body into a cancer-fighting machine. For example, cancer loves sugar and it loves alcohol. In October, I quit all sugar and all processed food. In February, I quit all hard alcohol. John, I don't miss sugar. I do miss bourbon, but that's okay. That's okay.
Well, but who wouldn't?
That is right. So, and the strongest drug we're doing literally is ivermectin. So I started this ivermectin protocol from a doctor out of Canada. And my wife, not only are we doing a holistic approach based on vitamins, but we're doing treatments not available in America. So Mexico, Germany, all of these treatments that have a tremendous amount of success with no negative side effect to your body that are available throughout the world that aren't very well known in America. So ivermectin is the strongest drug I do. We got our first dosage from a Canadian pharmacy, and when we ran out, we had to reorder, and the Canadian pharmacy said, we're going to be out for 10 days. You'll have to find your ivermectin, go to your local pharmacy to get it for 10 days. So I called my certified oncologist, who is overseeing my protocol from the Canadian doctor, and this is an oncologist in Cincinnati, Blue Ash, who got tired of treating her stage 4 cancer patients with chemotherapy and radiation and found a more holistic approach. She happily called a prescription in for 10 days of ivermectin to Kroger. Imagine how pissed off I was when about 5 minutes after she called it in, I get a call from my pharmacist. We are not going to fill that prescription.
And why did they refuse to do that?
That's in very colorful language. I asked that question, and I will not repeat the language I used, John. I asked that question, and they said, we don't recognize this as a protocol for COVID-19. I said, this isn't for COVID, it is for cancer. They put me on hold, came back 5 minutes later. We are still not going to fulfill it because we don't recognize it as a protocol for cancer. And I literally said, then you call my oncologist, and hung up the phone. And they called me back 20 minutes later. They did not call my doctor, but they did say, we will give you a 10-day supply. We will fulfill this. So after that, we switched to CVS Pharmacy. And after getting regular prescriptions there, and we were paying, $800 a month to the Canadian pharmacy. CVS we get a month supply for $30. Nothing covered by insurance, by the way. And after about maybe 60 days, when my wife went to pick up my prescription, the pharmacist, who was great, said, here, we're giving you every single bit of ivermectin we have left, but we have been told corporately we can no longer fulfill this prescription for cancer. It's not recognized. So we found a local compound pharmacy that we work with, that we get it filled regularly now. But because of the difficulty of getting something that has virtually no negative side effects that people use every day, I, along with Dr. Johnson, have dropped a bill to make ivermectin over the counter, as it is in about 7 states in America. I believe you as an individual are in charge of your body. You will enjoy the benefits of good decisions or suffer the consequences of bad decisions. Along with that, just don't expect for government to pay for your bad decisions. You want to ruin your life with drugs? Go ahead. Just don't expect us to bail you out.
It's amazing how ivermectin and those who were taking it or embracing it in some form during COVID were absolutely vilified. I mean, to the point of they were threatened with prosecution.
That's right.
But yet, here's something that is effective.
Yep.
For you, and why shouldn't you be allowed to do that? I mean, the people passed issue 2 and legalized recreational marijuana in the state. There was medical marijuana before that in the state. So what's the big deal about ivermectin?
I think it's all politicized. Early on during the COVID, Trump talked about ivermectin and hydrochloroquine. If I said that right, hydrochloroquine.
Quinn.
Yeah, thank you. Had Trump not said that, I think ivermectin would have been readily available. But the other problem we have, and God bless the pharmaceutical companies, it's an amazing business model. It's not always necessarily a good health model, but they have done amazing things for not just our economy, but for our citizens. But they can't have a $1 billion brand on something that literally retails for pennies a pill. So I think there's a degree of influence that says, hey, we don't want people to understand the efficacy. I mean, literally, ivermectin is being used throughout the world During the height of COVID, my daughter managed Sharon Kennedy's statewide campaign right before COVID kicked in. And after the campaign of traveling the state and working for her beloved Chief Justice, and it was an 80-hour-a-week job for my daughter who never complained. She said, "Dad, Sharon doesn't expect me to do anything she's not doing." But my daughter said, "I got to go to getaway." She took a 90-day, she called it a physical, a mental, and a spiritual detoxification off the campaign trail. So she went down to Tulum, Mexico for 90 days. My wife and I went down there for 10 days to hang out with her. You would have never known COVID was a thing. They had masks. I mean, they had signs up that said, "Please wear a mask." But beyond that, there was no enforcement. In Mexico, you don't need a prescription. You can go into your local pharmacy or apothecary and get any over-the drug. They're all 100% over-the-counter. You treat yourself. So my wife and I, knowing the benefits of ivermectin, or at least believing in the benefits of ivermectin, we stocked up and brought some back with us from Mexico at the time. And both have had COVID multiple times, and a few doses of ivermectin. It's gone pretty quick.
That's good. I've always been a big believer in just, health, taking care of yourself, and the less prescription medication that you have to be on, the better. I always like to say I like to take my daily dose of iron in the weight room, and a couple multivitamins. And so more power to you. Find something that works for you, and you probably feel a lot stronger and better instead of whatever the prescription medication and the side effects of that would be.
It's funny you say that. My focus since this battle that God has given me has been 4 things and 4 things only. I focus on nutrition and exercise. And because of that, I regularly ate a lot of processed food and a lot of junk food. I'm down to my high school weight.
Yeah, you look great.
I did 150 sit-ups. I feel I'm better than I felt in 15 years. We are shrinking this tumor, but my focus is nutrition, exercise, sleep, and attitude. That is it. My wife takes care of the most of the medical stuff and what we're doing in that regard. But I focus just on those 4 things. And I'm telling you, anyone that is diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, don't freak out. Or stage 4 any cancer, don't freak out. Or do some research. There's a tremendous amount of alternative options out there. And you can always go back to what I call the traditional ones, the cancer, the radiation, the chemo, the surgery. You can always do that. Most cancers are fairly slow growing, not all. Most of them are.
State Senator George Lang, God bless you. Keep up the good fight. You look great, and thanks for being an inspiration. We appreciate your time today.
God is good. Business first. Thanks, John.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.